Good morning.
Good morning. How are you, Miss Cruiser over
Good.
there?
I'm on the sea someplace, but we didn't want to miss our Tuesday market update.
No, this is like I
So,
said, this is what we do. This is how
this is
committed
what
we
we
are to
do.
this.
We get in where we fit in, right?
Yes, exactly. And it just shows that, we really are taking this serious, and we're gonna do everything we can to make sure that we're here every Tuesday for anyone that's watching us and is looking forward to our market updates. So thank you so much for taking this time away from your family and being here with us. So I know I appreciate it. Hopefully our viewers do as well.
And I think we have really good information to share today, too.
You.
Just talking about builder confidence really going down, which is something that we've been pointing out over the time, like because of the tariffs and inflation and everything. And so I think that's really important to point out as well.
Definitely. And I think we mentioned it before as well. The cost, um, the estimated cost is rising, right? We're starting to see that impact due to the cost of material and labor. And there's actually a shortage on labor.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious to see how that's going to start increasing even more. The price is going to keep increasing more. So as of right now, there's an average of $9,200 per home in cost increase, and it's just a matter of time for that to start taking a bit more of an effect on new construction, I believe.
Exactly. And I think it's important to point out too that we did see in February inflation come down a little bit, cooling, but we don't know if that will stick, because sometimes we don't know those real numbers. When these reports come out, they're sometimes a little bit off, and then sometimes we see a little bit of adjustment in those reports as well. But it is
Right.
good news for overall long term, why we're not going to see any drastic rate decreases or anything like that. It is good for long term growth. And we've seen that, it's going to be a hot spring market. I've had multiple houses with multiple offers on it, calling agents, so forth, making sure the buyers get into it. And I think that's really important to point out too, that it's picking back up.
No, it definitely is. And something that I read that I found interesting as well was the total home equity is now, like, I don't know, somewhere in the mid $30 trillion. So there's
Yeah.
also been an increase in HELOCs or
Yeah.
home equity loans, right? And I think that people are just getting a little bit more um, comfortable with the idea of taking that equity out and maybe paying off that high, interest debt that they may have, or buying an investment property. I mean, that's what you buy assets for, is to continue building, right? So I see
Yeah.
people are a little bit more open to the idea of using their equity to make some financial decisions for them and their families. And a HELOC is always a great way, an option.
Well, we see that a lot too because, I know people thought they're trapped in these twos, threes rates, but you have to really look at your whole household. And that's something that we talk about often as well. Just looking at that entire household, making sure it makes sense. Like if you can save a few $1,000s a month by using the equity in your house, why are you not doing it? Like that's the thing.
Exactly.
Like, so it's super important to just look at the overall health and have a professional advise you through it rather than just thinking, oh my gosh, I have this 2.875, I can't touch it. You do have options. And whether that looks like a cash out or a home equity line of credit, it's not one size fits all.
Exactly. And something that I really want to highlight today on our live is the anticipated meeting that's going to be taking place tomorrow, which is the Feds, right? We already know that we're probably not going to see a cut, and there's a reason why. And basically, although inflation is improving, the job market, there's still a lot of uncertainty with it. And we're seeing that the jobs that were created this previous month were primarily part-time jobs, and the feds don't, like, they're okay with it, but they really are looking for those full-time jobs being created out here in our
Which is
area.
32
So
hours.
yeah,
So
it's not a
that's
40
the
hour.
federal
Yeah.
guideline is what, 32 hours, right?
Yes.
But we also know that the private sector, as well as the public sector, doesn't really want to do those full time because they don't want to have to give benefits and so forth because that's bigger cost to them. So, what does that look like for the future?
Exactly. I think, and we're already seeing, like, going back to the whole new construction, we're already seeing a job shortage there. So it's going to be
Yeah.
interesting to see, like, what job sectors are going to start seeing those shortages that we need, that has a higher demand, and how that's going to start affecting our economy and essentially our rates, our market. Yeah.
And also, it's important to note too is something that right now the market is really not 24 hours, like it closes and opens and so forth. Of course, we see future projections and so forth in the market, but they're now talking about making the market 24 hours. What will that look like for rates?
Oh, I did not know that. I haven't seen that.
Serious volatility. I mean, a 24-hour market, that has never happened. That's crazy.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. That I have to read into that. That's interesting. I wonder what the projections for that will be.
But I think I think economic health, recession is like a mandatory thing in all economies. Like people think of that word and they think back to 2006 to 2008. That was a different type of recession. That was a bubble burst because bad loans were being done. Recessions happen all the time if you look through history. The rubber band can only be pulled back so far. So you have to have recession to have regrowth. It's almost like when they say you have to burn down the trees to have better soil on the other side of it. It's the same thing in our economy. So we have to see some of these economic downsides in order to have improvement over time. Another thing I also read this week is that forbearances were down in February, which is amazing. That means people are catching up on their mortgage payments, not having to use those things. A lot of it you'll see is if you think that the hurricanes were about 6 months ago, so they come out of those forbearance. A big point to point out is that please call before you ever go into forbearance so you can fully understand, because you call the automated system where you're paying your payment, they're like, click 1 for forbearance. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I don't have to pay my payment for 6 months. Not the truth. Please call your local mortgage advisor, us, so that we can tell you what that really looks like for long term for you.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely options out there, and we're going to always make sure that we give you the best one. That's for sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. Was there any
other
point?
I was just going to say some of the reporting also regarding inflation for February shows improvements as far as like the headline and the core CPI show some sort of improvement. So it's going to be interesting tomorrow to see how the Feds kind of deliver the message of like, hey, we do see improvement, but we're not going to make any changes on the rates. So I know a lot of people are anticipating for a rate cut, and it's like it's coming, but it's not coming this month. At least we're not going to see it tomorrow.
Yeah, and mortgage applications are going up too. Like people aren't, even though there's some low confidence levels, people are still applying to see if they can, get a house, because people have to live someplace. Rent is insane. And it's important to come to these market updates as well, because even though we saw improvement in that inflation and slowing job growth, mortgage rates ticked up, and history shows that normally that would cause like a little tick down, but it didn't. So it was just kind of reversed. And I think it's because the market is just feeling a little not sure where we're going, but that will even out. We're not going to see, like I said, we're not going to see any drastic swings either way, I don't believe, unless something crazy happens. But call a mortgage broker so we can get you the lowest rate available. So.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, that's our job, is to shop and get you the best deal ever. And I think
who doesn't love a deal? Who doesn't love a deal?
I know. And I think we pride ourselves in that, and like making sure that like we do whatever we can. And we'll even do some negotiations with our lenders and things like that to make sure that we make sure that the deal makes sense for you and that you're comfortable with what you have to bring to the table and your monthly payment. So,
and you can see that we're always available on a cruise, in our car, whatever.
Yes. I know. I have a meeting right now. I have a meeting with some agents, so we're like, we have to make this happen one way or another. So here we are.
Whether we're in the middle of the ocean or on land, who knows?
I mean, that is something impressive for sure. That is so. It just shows we're committed, which I'm very thankful to have someone like you that's just as committed as as me. Sometimes I'm a little too committed with things, but we're okay. We're okay.
And next week you'll be on a cruise, and we're gonna figure out how to pop onto this. We got this.
Next week? No, next week I'm not on a cruise. Oh, I don't know. My next 2 weeks are crazy.
It's all a whirlwind, but we're gonna figure it out. Okay.
Well, we'll be here every Tuesday.
We'll see you guys next Tuesday.
Yes,
for
thank
more
you so
market
much for
updates.
joining us. And Ashley, you enjoy the rest of your cruise with your beautiful
Thank
family.
you.
And I will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.